Well, good afternoon. Today I'm joined by Kentucky Emergency Management Director Eric Gibson and Transportation Secretary Jim Gray to provide an update. Our Commonwealth is facing a significant winter storm that will likely cause significant disruption and dangerous conditions on our roads and could cause significant power outages just 24 hours or so before it's going to get really cold in Kentucky. We're providing an update because we care about every single Kentucky family and we want you to be safe during what could be a very disruptive winter storm. We've been through so much, and our goal is to make sure every single Kentuckian gets through this as well. So let's talk about this concerning forecast. As you'll be able to see on slide 1, there is a winter storm warning for 2/3 of the Commonwealth of Kentucky from early Sunday morning through Monday afternoon. A heavy wintry mix of ice and snow is expected, again, beginning early tomorrow morning through Monday afternoon. I want to draw attention especially to the Western Kentucky area in purple. These are the counties of Daviess, Henderson, Livingston, Union, McLean, Crittenden, Caldwell, Hopkins, and Webster. These counties could be really impacted because they've already issued the National Weather Service an ice storm warning for those counties. They could see a half to 3/4 an inch of ice, and that icing event again will start tomorrow. Significant snow and accumulation across the state will result in hazardous travel conditions and may cause numerous power outages as the amount of ice and snow could bring down power lines. As we'll talk about in a minute, most of the state has a significant chance of ice during this event. Please stay off the roads if you can. Again, we'll discuss it more in depth, but there is going to be a very dangerous period where the accumulation is coming down. And then we are going to have a window, primarily on Monday, for the Transportation Cabinet to do as much as they can, because on Tuesday, the temperatures are going to get so cold that the ice will likely not work. The salt will likely not work or work as well as it might otherwise. So there's going to be two big reasons during this event to stay off the roads. Number one, they may be treacherous. I'm using that word intentionally. They could be treacherous. And number two, we need as much time and as much road during that period of time for the Transportation Cabinet to do everything they can to get us in the best shape we can before it gets dangerously cold. You can see the National Weather Service has a high confidence that we'll see an impact from this storm tomorrow and Monday. But we also know the storm system could change, and we'll provide further updates if the forecast changes. Okay, let's look at slide 2. This map shows the potential for snow and ice accumulations. Nearly every part of the state could see a major impact, with the portions in red being the most concerning. This is the area where so many Kentuckians reside, the I-64 corridor. We're talking about Louisville. We're talking about Frankfort, Lexington, all the way down to Mount Sterling. And then if you go out west, some of those counties that we talked about, with certainly the Owensboro region looking like it could get hit pretty hard. Let's go to the next one. We haven't used a slide like this before, but this is also shows you what a mix of different types of wintry weather are going to hit different parts of our state. This actually shows a forecasted timeline on how the storm will begin, how it will move across the state, and how the different types of wintry weather will change in different areas. The area in pink are some of the most concerning because that is when the freezing rain would be happening. That's the right now when they think the greatest chances for ice are, how long those periods last, and how much ice comes down. I mean, when you're talking about 1/4 of an inch, that's enough to bring down power lines. Certainly 3/4 of an inch would cause would make this a very significant event. The graphic also shows, in general, the West is looking at ice. The North is looking at a lot of snow. And the I-65 corridor gets what the National Weather Service called an ice sandwich. That is snow followed by ice followed by snow. And that'll make that snow very heavy and a little bit more difficult to get up and to clean out. Let's look at the next slide. Okay, regarding snowfall, this slide shows the highest snowfall amounts north of I-64. Snow amounts will depend on how much sleet and freezing rain falls. Freezing rain could reduce snowfall amounts, but then they'll increase ice. Looking at this, you see that northern Kentucky has a chance for 6 to 13 inches of snow. Right now, they think that northern Kentucky will primarily just get snow. But then you look at central Kentucky, again, that I-64 corridor, you're looking right now at a potential for 4 to 8 inches. Remember, part of that falls, and then we get the icing event in that area, and then the rest of it falls. Let's go to the next one. All right, this is the graphic on expected ice accumulation. Again, it shows in some of the major population centers a real concern about getting a significant amount of ice. If you're in red, talking about a quarter to a half an inch, that is enough ice to bring down power lines and cause, again, significant disruptions and could cause very treacherous driving conditions. So when it comes to ice accumulation, the main concern tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night is for northern central Kentucky. Southern Kentucky is expected to see a wintry mix tomorrow morning with a change to rain for the afternoon and evening hours. But just remember, a slight change in how this front is moving could cause differences in what part of the state get hit with what. Expect very significant weather. We will prepare for the worst. We will hope for the best. But for all of our Kentucky families, be expecting a major, difficult winter event. Our biggest concerns right now are the weight of the mix of ice and snow and how it will impact our power. Added on to that, we expect winds of 10 to 15 miles an hour Sunday and Monday with gusts that can be stronger than that. Really, anywhere in red on this, and even the darker yellow are concerning. Let's go to the next slide. All right, this is Tuesday through the weekend. It's going to get really cold. It's going to get dangerously cold. So here's what we'll really be looking at Sunday and Monday. How much ice comes down, where we lose power, our ability to get that power back up by Tuesday, and the ability for us to clean roads, especially roads to warming centers. You should expect, because we've been talking to county emergency management directors, that there will be warming centers in every region of the state. If we lose power beginning on Tuesday, especially for some of our most vulnerable Kentuckians, it's going to get cold enough to where you may well need one of these warming centers. Temperatures are going to get below freezing on Monday night, and they're probably not going to go above freezing until this next weekend. If the snowpack is significant, some of these temperatures will be 0, possibly even below. And so we need to be prepared for some really cold days. Some location in north central and northeast Kentucky, again, may see temperatures drop below 0 Wednesday night. And remember, if these temperatures get colder than this on Tuesday, but especially look at Wednesday and Thursday, the salt's not going to work as well, or it's not going to work where there is ice on the road. So again, a period on Monday, we're going to need as many people to stay off the roads so that the transportation cabinet and your county and city groups can pick up as much of that snow and treat as much of the ice as possible. Let's go to the next one. Before the weather arrives, I'm asking Kentuckians to take time to prepare. You pretty much have the rest of today, because early tomorrow morning is when it starts getting bad. But here you can see the items you should have at your home, in your car, which Director Gregory and Secretary Gray will go over. Remember, if you have to drive anywhere during this period of time, you need a full tank of gas. You need blankets. You need water. and you need snacks. We saw during the polar plunge a number of significant backups where people were sitting in traffic 4 or 5 hours because we had tractor trailers involved in various accidents. You need to make sure you're prepared if you have to get on the roads for that type of issue or that contingency. Thing to remember is you can always stay home. And if you have power, it's the safest place for you to be as we ride out yet another thing that Mother Nature has thrown at us. We're currently working with local officials, especially those in Western Kentucky, where they're expecting heavy ice to get those centers open as quickly as we can. Again, those are the warming centers. Due to the potential of this storm and due to this very concerning forecast, today I've assigned a declaration of a state of emergency to ensure we have every state resource ready to help. That's everyone from our local first responders to our emergency responders. I've also activated units of the National Guard that are going to be in armories throughout Kentucky with heavy equipment to be ready to help in that backup or ready to help stranded motorists. This was the same thing that we did during the polar plunge and many other events. Our goal is to be ready in case we get hit by the worst. We're activating the State Emergency Operations Center in order to be prepared. Director Gibson will talk about everything that entails. I've also issued an executive order to protect Kentuckians from price gouging, which can happen after winter storms or other events. It's going to apply to goods and services like gasoline, food, and household items. To report price gouging, contact the Office of the Attorney General. I'm also closely watching the impact of the storm to determine whether or not we'll close state office buildings on Monday. I will tell you, if this forecast comes to be, if this is accurate, I will close those buildings because it won't be safe to be on the road. The Monday morning commute looks like it will be really bad. And we care about the 30,000+ members of Team Kentucky. We want them to all be safe when they come into work on Tuesday or whenever we could get back in. This is a storm to take seriously, and we are doing that here at the state level. Next, we're going to hear from Director Gibson and then Secretary Gray. I'll come back, wrap us up, and then take a few questions.
Well, thank you very much, Governor, for the information that you prepared and provided to the citizens of the Commonwealth. And as the Governor stated over and over, this is a severe weather event that the National Weather Service has been talking about for several days now. And we've been preparing as a Commonwealth for this event. We want you to know that the State Emergency Operations Center will be activated tonight at midnight and will stay open for the duration of this event. During that time, we'll have state agencies from across the Commonwealth having representatives there to coordinate that response if something is needed in any of our counties or cities. If there's a resource request that comes in, we'll do our very best to find that very quickly and get that to them so that they can provide the assistance to the citizens or the area that's having the concerns. We'll also be working with the National Guard there at the Emergency Operations Center so that they can provide that support and that heavy lift across the Commonwealth as they have done so many times to help our citizens, but we're there for that coordination effort as well. The Governor's talked about this forecast and he's reiterated these slides that the National Weather Service has provided for us. And talking through these counties out in Western Kentucky that have the ice storm warning, the severity of that, it stands for something. Those are strong words when you talk about this with high confidence, just as the Governor stated it, not to repeat anything that he said, but just to reiterate how important those warnings are. So, and I lead that to say, this is the time to prepare. You have a few hours left before dark today to do some things around your home, to do some things that you could do to be better prepared in case there is a widespread power outage. We don't know that there will be, but if we have the icing conditions that the Weather Service is forecasting, there are things that you could do now that will make you better prepared for the next few days, maybe make your life a little bit easier, make you a little bit safer. And we talk about those things, just some simple things, making sure that you have the things that are listed on the slides, flashlight, charged, extra batteries, however kind you have, some non-perishable food, some bottled water, blankets, all your prescription medicines so you don't have to get out to retrieve those items. Things of that nature are really important to have now. You have about 12 hours or so depending on what part of the state you live in, to get those items and have them at the ready. I know that many people across the Commonwealth use generators in times when power goes out, and we always try to stress the safety in using one of those type of generators to power some appliances in your home, as you may try to keep your refrigerator or a heater or something running in your home. And as we do that, we want to make sure that we talk about making that generator away from the home in a way that the carbon monoxide is not blowing in or coming into the area that you're living in, and to make sure that that exhaust is going away from the home. It's spaced out, enough away that you don't have any risk from that, and make sure you're running a detector to recognize those events as well if there were to be a risk to you. Make sure you're using a good rated cord. If you're bringing power from a generator into an appliance in your home, if it's laying out of doors, it could be wet. Make sure you're using the proper equipment for those type of events to make sure that you're being as safe as possible. And then if you bring that inside and you're running an alternative heating source, such as a heater of some sort that's blowing that hot air, make sure that device is not near any flammable material, such as a drape or clothing or anything that might catch fire, because that would just add more work to our first responders that are already out there, and then further risk your safety during those types of incidents. So we just try to talk about the things that we can do now to make ourselves safer then. Make sure that you have those preparations in place. Remember, your pets, your farm animals may be difficult to get out there to feed across the Commonwealth to those farm animals. And I know our farmers are going to be out there trying to do their very best, but we have to make sure that we think of those things in advance. Make sure your phone's fully charged. That way, if you need to call for assistance, you're not worried about that battery running down. Remove the garden hose from the spigot. It'll freeze. It's going to make a mess when it does. When it warms back up, you're going to have a mess. Just some simple things you can think about that aren't necessarily, that's not necessarily a safety issue, but it's just a convenience issue. Make sure that you're able to have that plumbing back on when the water does unfreeze. As we talk about these things, and the governor mentioned the warming centers, we're going to have some warming centers come open. The Emergency Operations Center has been working already with our state partners, our county partners, I apologize, the county partners, to identify locations so that if your power's out for an extended period of time and you're unable to stay warm, there will be somewhere for you to go. And we're working very hard to get those in place. We'll be publishing that information on our Facebook page. We'll be providing that to the news and news outlets so that they know where those warming centers are, where you may know where you can get to. And then we have to worry about the safe travel. So we're going to do our very best to make sure that we have those near main thoroughfares that would be cleared first by the transportation cabinet, so that if you have to try to make your way to a warming center, it's as safe as possible to try to get there. We're not running down a back road to try to find a warming center. So there's some things that we're doing right now to prepare the Commonwealth for the response to this severe weather event. And like the forecast is the forecast. The National Weather Service has provided this to us. They provide with high confidence, and it's time to prepare is now. And as at emergency management, we're doing our part to be prepared to help you and your local county and city officials. But we're asking you to do those things at home that you can do to make yourself better prepared to weather the storm. With that being said, I'd like to turn this over to Secretary Gray so he could talk a little bit about how transportation is partnering and preparing across the Commonwealth as well. Secretary Gray.
Thanks, Director, and thanks, Governor. Well, this is a serious event when the Weather Channel, when Jim Cantore is tracking it. And just this morning, our own state highway engineer, James Ballinger, had an interview with Jim Cantore, and he described just how serious things are. And in that, he also described the preparedness that we've been going through. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but let me start first by just confirming again what the governor said, what Eric has said, and that is, this is a serious storm. First and foremost, stay weather aware and stay home if you can. That's what we just heard from the governor. Now, this event is starting on a weekend, but it's also after a holiday. So a lot of folks are still traveling, and we would ask them to make those travel plans now. Travel today if you can, or make alternative plans and share the warnings that are being issued. Now, crews have been preparing for this storm for this entire winter. In fact, at the Transportation Cabinet, we began these preparations, snow and ice preparations, back in the summer. A lot of activity. Just yesterday, 132 people who are working this storm event were on a Teams call to coordinate. That's occurring again today at 4:30. Just an example of the breadth and the significance of the effort that's being put forward. I'm going to talk to you about how many people are involved. We've got, including contract employees, 2,300 committed crew members for this event. We've prepped some 1,400 snow plows and salt trucks. We've readied 500 plus support vehicles, including mechanics trucks to keep plows on the roads. Stockpiled 370,000 tons of salt, over 1 million gallons of salt brine to pre-treat the highways. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I'm going to show you a video. Jim, you can cue that up in just a minute, but not quite yet. Over 1 million gallons of brine to pre-treat the highways. That has been occurring, continues to occur in the areas where we can do it. And over 1 million gallons of calcium chloride, which is an additive to the salt for de-icing. We've also fueled up generators, sharpened chainsaws, checked satellite phones to keep communications open, a big deal, and planned to have water and food in case of power outages. Now, the governor mentioned earlier about the state of emergency declaration. That has allowed me today to sign an official order to temporarily suspend certain drive time and way station restrictions on motor carriers who will be engaged in transporting emergency relief supplies or those involved in power restoration. Now, Kentucky's professional force of snow fighters and snow fighting equipment will deploy around the Commonwealth. This is from stem to stern, north to south, east to west conditions that you've heard the governor talk about, you've heard the director talk about already. We've got contractors as well involved to keep our 28,000 miles of state-maintained roadways and 9,000 bridges passable. Crews will be working 12-hour shifts, plowing snow, treating roadways with salt and other chemicals to battle the ice. Again, serious storm. Now, while our crews will be working, it will take time, and the governor talked about this, it will take time to clear the roads as continuous snowfall will occur and will arguably pile up behind our plowing, and ice could bring down trees. After the storm passes, crews will continue to work to keep Kentucky families safe. We ask for your patience. Now think about this. These are large pieces of equipment that are used to plow the roads, to plow the ice and the snow, and when we can, the ice. So a lot of skill is involved in that. Please keep your distance from this equipment when you're traveling. Again, I'll say, stay home for your own safety. Now, ice and freezing rain will create additional hazards besides the slick roadways. And we've talked about this, going to say it again though. Downed trees and utility lines, power lines, can block roads, delaying the clearing of the snow and icing conditions and block emergency services. Be prepared for that. I'm going to, Jim, have you got a slide? Yeah, okay. Never touch or drive over a fallen power line. Don't drive through standing water. Stay inside your vehicle. If a line has fallen on the car, on your vehicle, the ground may be energized. You could sound the horn, call for help, call 911. Assume all downed power lines are live and don't attempt to move one, even with non-conductive materials like wood or cloth. State highway personnel will be prepared to work alongside utility crews to reopen access, especially for emergency services. But residents should be prepared for blocked roads and power outages. Again, please don't touch or try to move down lines. The extreme Arctic cold, you heard the governor talk about this, that we are facing afterwards will make all of this even more treacherous, more dangerous, especially as we expect the temperatures in the teens by Monday night and single-digit temperatures by Tuesday. This compromises the effectiveness of our additives, of the chemicals that are added to the salt. Doesn't make them completely ineffective, but it compromises them. It will take longer to clear roads and increase the likelihood of refreezing, especially after dark. Now, our focus has been and will continue to be to keep priority routes open, like the interstates and the parkways, before moving to other routes. That means if you need to be out, drive with extreme caution on low traffic volume routes. Each time fresh snow falls, it covers up our tracks, and crews essentially have to start the process all over again. They are out there and they are working. Thankfully, we have new equipment we're able to put to some good use. As an example, we have new wing plow blades, the first of its kind in the state. We have 3 of these pieces of equipment that can clear just over 25 feet in one pass. And Kentucky's fleet now includes 12 tow plows in different parts of the state that can clear 2 driving lanes in one pass. Jim, I'm going to ask you to cue up our emergency car kit graphic. But now, before I do that, please avoid, say this again, please avoid unnecessary travel. But if you must be out, this is the time to practice basic driving tips to keep you safe. Now, the governor mentioned this. Buckle up and put the phone down, of course. Reduce your speed. Really important. Reduce your speed. Give yourself plenty of time to reach your destination, especially Monday morning. Keep both hands on the wheel. Make sure you have this emergency car kit that I'm going to talk about, and keep yourself safe. That will help keep you safe and warm for several hours. What's in it? What's in this emergency car kit? Ideally, flashlight, non-perishable snacks, first aid kit, ice scraper, blanket, phone charger, jumper cables, medication, winter gear, and traction aid. Urge everyone, stay in touch with the winter alerts by monitoring your weather forecast. We're getting good weather forecasts these days. In fact, I was just talking to James Ballinger about that today. In the last 5 years, the level of predictability of our weather forecasting has helped us a lot in the transportation cabinet. Now, we have a website that's loaded with information and resources for winter driving, which we're discouraging. But if you have to be out there, take a look at snowky.ky.gov. Do we have a slide with that on it, Jim? I don't know if we do or not. If we don't, let me say it again. snowky.ky.gov. You'll find links there to your local highway district social media accounts so you can track the latest in your area. Remember too that power outages can cause dark traffic signals. I've got a slide here just for awareness. Treat a dark signal as a 4-way stop, flashing red signals as stop signs, and proceed with caution at flashing yellow signals. Finally, check traffic on a navigational app like Waze, or on our website at goky.ky.gov. All right, Governor, back to you.
Jim, I think you got the last of my notes. Should we just? All right, so folks, it's going to be a major weather event. While we don't think it will be a historic event like the 2009 ice storm, it is significant. I want to thank the National Weather Service for their forecasts, for basically being on call. As governor, they have been an incredible resource, and we certainly should support their funding moving forward because Kentuckians are safer because of their work. So, Team Kentucky, make sure you take this seriously. Make sure you prepare for tomorrow and Monday, and stay off the roads once this event begins, if you can. We want all of you to make it through it. I know I have to say this way too much, but we got through a pandemic. We got through the worst tornadoes. We got through the worst flooding. We've gotten through multiple polar plunges. We've been up against a lot. Let's not lose one more person to this weather event. With that, we've got 3 journalists, one in studio. We have Alex from WLEX. How has the past ice storm helped you prepare for this one? Well, working through ice storms in the past, whether it was the historic one in 2009 or events like the polar plunge where we were dealing with ice, tell us a couple things. Number one, we have to work as hard as we can in the window that we have before it gets too cold for the salt to work and to work well. So when we talk about that window on Monday, where the transportation cabinet needs as much of the road as possible, it is absolutely critical that we're able to get as much done as we can. The second is our use of National Guard, ensuring that we can reach people that are in big backups because of accidents. We know that hundreds of people can be stranded for a period of time, and having the Guard and in their Humvees or in other heavy equipment, being able to help not only get the accident open back up and people moving, but to be able to check on people, as well as the amount of salt that we have, the technology upgrades that we've seen in the transportation cabinet. All those things we've done because of our past experience, and to be better prepared and better prepared and better prepared. Now we have Tom Latek.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, and a belated Happy New Year to you. Can you tell me how many National Guard personnel have been activated, and also is some of the additional equipment being pre-positioned around the state?
We'll get you the number on the National Guard. We're going to start off at a reasonable amount, and we're going to grow it. Right now, we're only mustering enough to be able to respond to accidents and help in backups. Right now, we're not foreseeing a need like in 2009 to check door to door on people, but certainly if this grows bigger and more concerning, we will lean on the National Guard, and they always answer the call. We are pre-positioning heavy equipment, especially from the National Guard, and transportation is already has it in all of these areas, getting ready again to treat the roads beginning before it starts, the event starts, during the event itself, and then in that window of time that we have. And remember, these transportation workers put their safety on the line to be out in treacherous conditions. If you're also out, you don't just put your safety at risk, you put theirs at risk. We've tried to work safety of our people into everything we do in the transportation cabinet. So remember, those people have families. They leave their families during these really difficult weather events to make our families safer. Let's make sure we're protecting them too. And that parent gets home to their kids at the end of the event. And finally, we have Killian Barlayer from the Courier-Journal, who is not on. Okay, everybody out there, stay safe. We'll get through this. We'll get through this together. But we do that by leaning on each other, by making sure we're doing the right thing, by staying home and by staying safe. Thank you.